We are an association of about 1,050 congregations. We come from two liberal Christian denominations that have been existing in this country, in the United States, since colonial times. The 1780s was really when both Unitarianism and Universalism began to identify themselves as liberal departures from the Calvinist Reformed tradition of congregations. Particularly in New England, it was called the Standing Order, and basically the departures were theological, and they had to do with who got saved, who went to heaven, and who did not, and the nature of human beings and human existence. Unitarians and Universalists both believe that humans are basically good. We have our evil days and times and inclinations, but that we're basically good, and because of that we have our own moral agency to do good in the world and to heal ourselves and to heal the world both, and not to have to depend on an outside source or authority for that healing, but to know that it's within us. And since 1961 we have been on the forefront of social issues, everything from civil rights to gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender rights, to civil marriage as a civil right for same-gender couples, to immigration rights. We have a new program called Standing on the Side of Love, which is heavily involved with looking at what needs to be talked about in the area of human rights, and to actually stand on the side of loving our neighbors as ourselves, to use famous words, and to stand on the side of love and proclaim that love is what runs the universe and rules the universe, and we should behave accordingly. We look at ourselves as a pluralistic faith tradition, so that on Sunday mornings when I'm actually preaching or sitting up in the chancel, I may be looking out at a group that comprises Jews and Christians who still hold on to some of their Christian convictions, as I do. I may be also addressing Buddhists who have a meditation practice and practice any variety of Buddhist forms, and everything from Theravada to Zen. We may be talking to people who are earth-centered, commonly known as pagans, but a variety of ways of interconnecting with the universe as the source of spiritual power and energy. We also have people who proclaim their atheism very loudly, and agnosticism as well. So we have all of those people, and our job as clergy is to bring together those people on a Sunday morning and in any community event, and find the common grounds, find what brings us together as human beings and what creates our community, and as such we are always asking ourselves, why are we here? what brings us here? What sends us off with some new commitment to live in the world as full, engaged human beings? The association in Denver and the Front Range sponsors once a year worship service on the steps of the state capitol building, usually in October, somewhere around National Coming Out Day, which advocates for same-gender marriage. That's usually supported by the clergy at First Unitarian in Capitol Hill, but it's open to any number of people from all walks of life, Unitarian, Universalist, and non. We're very active in planning and participating in the Pride celebrations every year. We try to have a contingent of at least 50 or 100 people, and this year we're shooting for 200. We'll have a booth at the Pride Festival, and we'll be very visible. We also offer religious education classes for children, youth, young adults, and adults. And those happen as they're scheduled in various venues, usually here, but I sit with the young adults in a thing that we call Theology on Tap, which meets once a month at a local bar, and we have drinks and talk about what motivates us to be Unitarian Universalists and human beings. The question of mortality entered my own mind, and I began to think about how I wanted to be for the rest of my life, given the fact that for my mother, life was very short, and decided that Roman Catholicism was not the way I could be what I wanted to be. So I began a search that lasted probably 30 years and checked into various denominations and various kinds of religious traditions. My first step outside of Catholicism was to Episcopalianism of a very sort of high church brand, kind of smells, bells, and pretty clothes with an English accent. And I began a seminary career as an Episcopalian, and when I discovered that the controversy about ordaining gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender people, although transgender issues in the 70s were not as large as they are now, but ordaining GLBT people was a real question and a real issue, and that I would have to basically lie about who I am at the deepest core of my being. I decided that becoming an Episcopal priest on the basis of a lie about who I am at the core of my being was not a really good idea. It didn't have very much integrity. I've also been involved with work for civil marriage as a civil right, and done writing and speaking and just being present at those kinds of times and places where that issue comes up and can be discussed in an understanding and open way. Outside, I have been on several GBLT speakers bureaus in several places, Richmond, Virginia, and Albuquerque, New Mexico, among them, mostly which dealt with non-gay providers of support systems like physicians who might not be aware of the issues around dealing with a same-gender couple physically and for medical reasons, and especially with dealing with children of GBLT couples who may be suffering with something that they can't talk about because they're ashamed or they're not sure how to deal with having two parents of the same gender, so they often don't talk about their own medical needs because they don't want to out the family, and to make physicians and residents and interns, medical residents and interns, aware that these things happen. And if you're dealing with a teenager, you might be dealing with somebody who seems very reticent to talk about him or herself, but it's because of the family situation. Those things are very fulfilling, and it's amazing to me. It always amazes me that the depth of misunderstanding and the lack of awareness and sometimes a hesitancy to acknowledge that people are in families of various kinds and shapes and looks, and those people are the people you're serving. So those people are the people you need to know.